When I was born without an anal opening. So I had everything reconstructed and no anal sphincter muscles, nerves, all of that fun stuff. So in order to try and manage the incontinence, we had like these special enemas and we'd like mix them up at home with like glycerol and saline and do them. So then basically it could mean that I'd have like a 24-hour window where I should not have accident.
The way I don't know the way that you described the first time thing have holes, and then now the way you explained it, I just feel like you have the big hole when you're like lower area, and just like everything comes out. But like obviously not the case. Like the holes are like really small, just for you to eliminate waste and such.
For me, the surgeries and all the medical stuff, it really wasn't so difficult for me because it was what I knew to be normal, like ever since I was born. What was difficult for me was that, I was told that I had this condition that, was anatomically wrong and could be fixed with, reconstructive surgeries. And I got to an age where I realized that, I obviously wasn't fixed. Like I was going to live with this lifelong disability that would. So when I was born, my food pipe was joined into my air pipe going into my lungs with no joint to my stomach. And so when they corrected that, they accidentally cut through both of my vagus nerves, which, control the contractions in your esophagus. So
Mm-hmm.
like all of my vitamins were down, like my heart was struggling, like everything was really struggling.
Yeah.
So I went through, a million consultations with dietitians, like force feeding myself everything. I was still throwing up because my stomach now was partially paralyzed with, gastroparesis and all of this. And eventually it just got to the point where they're like, we need to just put an NG in and just try and help you gain some weight. When I had that surgery in 2020, they said to me, like, I don't know if you'll be able to eat or drink orally anymore. And so I then had to go and process, like, okay, this might be my life now.
Well, let's talk about this. Like maybe not eating is a possibility for you. So what would be your last meal?
That's so hard. I
And then like people like look at me with like Gucci shoes and be like jealous about it. So it's like, would you rather eat food or would you rather have Gucci shoes? Like you know.
I think so. I think like all of it is character building. Like, well, it is. You have to have these
we're
experiences. Like, I
we're
learned
so
something
toxic.
for it.
We're so toxic with this.
Maybe. I have no problem with my scars. I've realized that the modeling industry may at times because, yeah, when I first went to enter the modeling industry, they told me that I would not be able to model ever because of the scars on my stomach. When most people look at me, they don't see someone that has a disability. And that can be incredibly frustrating because that is my reality. And I often feel like I don't fit in with mainstream society and I don't fit in with the disability community sometimes.
Hello, welcome to my podcast, To Mike One Joe Such. I am Joe Such, and I'll be giving a mic to Anja. Anja is a woman of many roles, an international model, author, motivational speaker, disability advocate, holistic counselor, and entrepreneur. She is dealing with a huge plumbing issue called VACTERL Association, where she had no pelvic muscles, so she had no control over bowels and a bunch of other things. Doctors love her, and insurance companies do not. Since we've been friends over, let me check my phone for 2 minutes. Would you like to would you like to take our friendship to the next level?
Yes, let's do it.
So let's share our accidental shit stories. So obviously I'm a gentleman. I'm gonna let the women go first. So let's share your embarrassing shit story to start this off.
Oh, great. I'm so glad. Thank you for that. I think my most embarrassing shitting myself story would have to be when I was in Amsterdam and I was 17 and I was staying at this apartment with this guy, and we were like, we had a little bit of chemistry, and I'd gone out with his mother, and it was like, meet the mother. And we went to this farm, and I'd mixed with all these animals, and I don't know if I'd picked something up from the animals. And so his mum was dropping me back to the apartment that I was living in.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt my stomach was like, rumbling, and I had, my condition, I don't have any feeling in my pelvic muscles or warning. Like the only
Mm-hmm.
warning I get to go to the bathroom is that feeling in my stomach. And so I was like, oh no, I really don't feel well. And, went gray, like was incredibly nervous. And then all of a sudden had like a really huge accident, like full gastro in her car. And I was just like, I turned to her and I was like, I'm so, so, so sorry. And
Oh
she's like,
my
what?
God.
And I was like, I just shit myself in your car. And she was like, oh no. So anyway, she helped me. I got out and I was like, please do not tell your son about this. Anyway, so I
Eh,
don't think she told her son,
So is that
but
why you live in
yeah,
Australia now? You did left the country completely?
I had to leave the country. Yes, pretty much.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Over
so
to
like
you.
I sure, let me finish my thought and then I'll go to me. Of course I'll share. I don't mind. Anything goes on the internet, but I hope no one like puts me in a bio or something about it. But yeah, it's just crazy because you can't really explain your disease like in a sentence. It's kind of like a we gotta like sit down and like talk about it. Like can't just like and it's also like so rare to like what? You can't control your bowels? Like what's happening? You know, and then
Yeah.
man, man, that's the worst. I'm sorry. But
No, it's okay.
okay,
It's
so
like
let's
one of millions of stories.
yeah, I'm sure you have a bunch. It was probably hard to find the best one, but I'm sure we could spend all day talking about your shit stories.
Yeah.
So Anya was saying that she has trouble controlling her bowels a lot of the time, and I don't. So I feel like it's more embarrassing for me because since I can control it, it's like, it's even worse. I can't blame
Yeah.
anyone but myself. Anyways, so I was traveling from like a vacation place to like home, and it was like a 2 hour drive, and like when you have to like, I guess I can't talk to you about it, but like sometimes like when you have to poop, sometimes you can be like, oh, I'll just poop at home, like, kind of like, well, I have to explain this to you because I don't think
Yeah,
you'll
you have to
understand, but like
explain it to
some,
me.
yeah, well, I wasn't expecting to explain this, but okay. So sometimes like when you have to poop, like sometimes it's the feeling of like you have to poop, but you can kind of like wait a little bit and like the feeling goes away. And so like I would have one of those poops where like, oh, I'll just go poop at home, like I'll be okay. And it was fine for like it was a 2 hour drive and everything. It was fine for like an hour or so. And then like the last 20 minutes of the ride, I did had like take it. I had like diarrhea shit I had to take, and I was like dying in the car because I didn't want like we were almost home and such. So like we were going and we made it, but like my I've kind of had trouble going up the stairs, so it takes me a little longer, like maybe like 2 or 3 times as long as a regular person. And I really had a shit to like I was going up, and of course my house is like 3 stories tall to the bathroom, and so I was just like going up the stairs, like trying to get to the toilet, and like I couldn't make it, so like shit was going down my leg as I was going up the stairs, and I was wearing pants, so like the only way I'm lucky that nothing went on the floor or anything, but the only way for me to like salvage it is I had to jump in the shower, so it couldn't like go anywhere. Like it's easy to clean, and I had like have my mom help me like take it off. It's disgusting. Like maybe you felt it like you have shit in your pants, and then like you try to
Yeah.
take it off. It's so disgusting. It's
Yeah.
the
It
worst
is
feeling
not a good
ever.
feeling.
No, it's like why do they have to make it so disgusting? It could be like a little pleasant or something. So just the smell and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a fun time. And then you gotta take a shower
No.
and you feel like horrible. It's like,
Yeah.
but
Clearly it happens to the best of us.
yes, I mean, I'm I'm glad I was able to share that story. I've been dying to say it. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but hey, I want to share your that not even people that can control their bowels can shit themselves too, and
Yeah.
so. But it's a great segue to enemas. When someone shit, they have to clean themselves, but it's a little different with you because you have things called enemas, or otherwise they call it bowel washout. I have here you have to do it every day since the age of 1. When does one have to do a washout? Like, is it a preventative thing or is it a necessity for you?
So it was really an a bit of both, like of a necessity and a preventative. So when I was born without an anal opening. So I had everything reconstructed and no anal sphincter muscles, nerves, all of that fun stuff. So in order to try and manage the incontinence, we had like these special enemas. And would like mix them up at home with like glycerol and saline. and do them. So then basically it could mean that I'd have like a 24-hour window where I should not have accidents, as things kind of like move down again. So that was the intention, but obviously it didn't always work that way. And that basically lasted up until I was 19 ish. And then my whole bowel just kind of broke, and they needed to have like a bigger kind of colonic irrigation system that I'm supposed to be using daily now.
Oh, it's kind of confusing because you say you have one hole and a normal person has three. So like, does your the way you eliminate waste like a normal like is it normal or is it like abnormal and you have to like kind of like accustomed to you?
So when I
Like,
was born, I only had one hole, and so they had to reconstruct it into three. So I had a
hmm
colostomy and vesicostomy at birth, like the bowel and bladder bags, because the one opening wasn't functional. And then at 7 months, they reconstructed and made the three. So I would basically be functional like a typical normal person, as they like to
hmm
say. But then as I grew, I went back to two holes. So my urethra went inside my vaginal opening. So yeah, apart from that, I function relatively normally, like apart from that and the incontinence. So not
I,
much normal
I,
about it, but yeah.
the way I don't know the way that you described the first time saying have holes and then now the way you explained it, I just feel like you have the big hole when you're like lower area and just like everything comes out, but like obviously not the case. Like the holes are like really small just for you to eliminate waste and such. So like so you have the washout. So like let's go back to like the story of you shitting yourself. So like you shat yourself. So do you have to do the washout? I would guess right after that, just to make sure it's all clear and clean.
Yeah, usually is like I guess a safety precaution.
What
So
what
yeah,
happened if you don't do it? Like let's I don't know. Like I mean
it
I
could
don't
just
like I know like some people like really like you should do like a lot of things for health reasons, but like sometimes you just don't. I don't know. But you were like on vacation or something and you don't want to do it, or you just lazy. Like do you actually do it every day, or just you skip a day or two once in a while?
yeah, sometimes I skip days. It's really just like how things are going. So obviously if you're doing an enema, you're washing out the lower part of your bowel and what they usually, call the rectum, but I didn't have a rectum because they just brought my intestine to the surface. So if you don't have any like fecal matter down in that lower part, like there's nothing to wash out with the enema. So what has happened, like as I've grown older, is that my large colon, the motility is so slow. So it takes a really long time for things to actually get down there. So if I'm doing it as frequently as I used to, sometimes it's just a waste of my time because things aren't down there anymore or aren't down there yet. So it's been a real balance to try and manage, I guess, my bowels and digestive system. And last year, I was taken into hospital and they told me that I needed to get an ileostomy, and that was my only option. They wanted to remove my whole large colon, and that would be
Oh
like
my
a
god.
permanent ileostomy because my bowels had just got to a stage where they're unmanageable. But I didn't want to have that surgery. So I'm just doing what I can now to
Yeah,
live
it's
my
so
life,
weird
I
how your
guess.
body has like grown like like a baby growing. It's so weird how your body just like grew the way it did, and like I guess thank goodness for science and research that they're able to like t basically reconstruct you in every single way.
Yeah.
You have it seems like you have nothing working in your body anymore, and you're just being held by like stitches and surgeries and whatever they put inside of you.
Yeah, no, it really actually amazes me because I've got so many scars that were from my first year of life and they've grown with me and they're proportional to the size of my body now when obviously when I was a child I was so tiny and just how my body like heals itself and regenerates on some things but also just completely crashes and fails on others and yeah, it definitely is a massive balance to try and keep everything working.
Yeah. I mean, so I have here you had over 30 plus surgery and hundreds of hospital stays. Was the surgery more painful or the aftermath of falling behind in life and people leaving you behind? Because who would want to hang out with a sick person?
I think for me, the surgeries and all the medical stuff, it really wasn't so difficult for me because it was what I knew to be normal, like ever since I was born. What was difficult for me was that, I was told that I had this condition that, was anatomically wrong and could be fixed with, reconstructive surgeries. And I got to an age where I realized that, I obviously wasn't fixed. Like I was going to live with this lifelong disability that would affect how I engage in work and, study and socially. And so when I started to see that my peers were living such a different life to me, like they had such different opportunities. And like you said, it's really difficult for them to be friends with a sick person sometimes. Like I missed so
Yeah.
many birthday parties, so many special occasions. And like I would sometimes be the first person going home from my own birthday party, and other people would be staying and
Oh.
partying on, So it kind of sucks because like I'm still a fun loving person, but I just don't have the endurance to do that for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. Yeah.
I guess I'll share another story with that to like help you feel better, I guess. But like like you were saying, like you go home from your like you had to go home early for your birthday party. Like I'll tell the first time I got drunk story in college. So I was
Yeah.
in college, obviously, and I went to a friend's house, and like there's like stages to like going out. You have like the you have like the dressing up stage almost, like just chilling, whatever. And you got like the pregame stuff, like you kind of have like the pre-pregame, and you got the
Yeah.
pregame, like everyone coming, everyone like pumped up, and then you got like the main party going on, and then you got like the, and then you go out to the clubs, bar, whatever, and then you come home, and then you just try not to die. So what happened
Mm.
with me is that I got so drunk in like getting ready part that I just slept through everything. So like I would like so the first like when you walk into the house, like the first room you're in the living room, and I was on the couch and I slept through a whole party, like everything, because I
Wow.
couldn't like handle myself. Yeah, and it was
God,
like 7 p.m. I was already out,
that's
and
incredible.
so yeah, so
Yeah.
I was I just had like a garbage can next to me for like 8 hours a day, and then people were like, "Is he okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Fine." Like I was fine now. Like never got that drunk again, but yeah, that was a fun time. But I can understand like you having to leave early, and like, oh, I was excited too. It's like my first time going out, and I couldn't even
Yeah.
enjoy it because I was on the couch. But
Mm.
what are you
When
gonna
I
do?
Yeah, when I first started going out, I had this incident because I didn't realize that I couldn't drink as much as other people could. And like, I have one kidney, and I feel like that affects how you process alcohol. And I had 2 glasses of wine before going out, and they weren't huge glasses or anything like that. And then I went out and I was like, oh my God, I can't even control my body properly. Like, 2 glasses of wine should not do this. And I'd had alcohol before and it was fine. I'd never thrown up from being drunk. And this time I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I think I need to throw up. And went to the bathroom, was throwing up, and it was like a disproportional amount from what I'd drunk. And then I was like, I feel really bad. And I started just going like in and out of consciousness. And they had to call an ambulance and get me to the hospital. And when I got to the
Oh
hospital,
my
they just
God.
thought that I'd drunk too much and I was just a silly girl that didn't know how to handle her alcohol. And no one believed that I just had 2 drinks before even going out, like
Oh my
hours
God.
before I ended up in the hospital. So,
Man,
yeah,
I'm
apparently I'm
never
allergic
inviting you
to
to a
some red
party.
wine. Please invite me. Just no red wine.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can relate to this. So I can't swallow when like people see me with a cup, and so I have a tube in my stomach, so I have all my nutrition going to there, and so like now I don't taste alcohol anymore because like why should I? Well, for one, nothing goes down my throat anyway, but two, now I can drink without tasting anything, which is like amazing because I never found a drink that actually makes me happy or like I actually enjoy. It's always like either for me I did take a shot because it's quick and then have a Coke or something. I can't like do it with
Yeah.
drink. So like I'll just take shots though in the tube and let it go down and I feel good for a while. And then also what's nice about it that I can just when you're drinking, you don't think of water at all, and like your body just rejects water for some reason. Like you want to keep drinking more, and so like what's great is I can just pour like 2 cups of water, and I'm like replenished. And
Yeah.
so I want to talk about you. You also had a tube, but you didn't have a. I have a Mickey, but you don't have a Mickey. You
Mm,
had a. I
an
think for
NG.
about 6 months to a year that you had a nasal tube. So like let's talk about that. So what led to that where you had to get a nasal tube for yourself?
So it was pretty difficult. Like I've lived with not having contractions to swallow for my entire life. So when I was born, my food pipe was joined into my air pipe going into my lungs with no joint to my stomach. And so when they corrected that, they accidentally cut through both of my vagus nerves, which, control the contractions in your esophagus. So I didn't have any of that. They didn't realize at the time, like I'd get things stuck often as a child and have to go in under anesthetic and get like a blueberry removed, for example. So I had lived with that, choking on food, having to vomit up food when it gets stuck, like not being able to eat anything without drinking and like washing it down to push it down. But then in 2020, I had a surgery for reflux called a funduplication, where they wrap your stomach around the bottom of your esophagus. So when I had to try and stop the stomach acid from coming up. So when I had that
I mean,
done,
so yeah, we were going on a similar journey too. Like when they were trying to solve my eating problem. Like when I was having, I don't know, when you were having difficulty swallowing, was it that as it felt like the food was too big for your throat, but even though it was like not much, or like it wasn't going down? Like how describe like what was happening? Like you just couldn't swallow?
yeah, it would basically just kind of it felt like it got stuck. Like, and
Yeah, it's
if it
so
was,
bad, right?
yeah, and especially like people seem to say, like, oh, try purees or things like that. But like the more gluggy something was, like the worse it was for me, actually. And it would just feel like it
Yeah, I
gets
remember.
stuck. And then when I'd
Yeah,
breathe
it's
after, it would be
so bad.
crackly.
Yeah, because like I remember like telling like my parents about it, and they're just like, "Oh, you're eating wrong," or like you should make it smaller. And it's like, no, I was really like dying, like trying to swallow. Like even the doctor was like, your neck muscles are so strong from trying to force it down. Like your body was just like bailing on me. I'm like, shit. Like what?
Mm,
Like I don't know if it's we have the same problem or similar, but my sphincter muscle doesn't work. I don't know if it's the same muscle for you. Do you know?
yeah, no, I think it's like the entire control
Okay.
of contractions for me. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Okay. So yeah, continue your story.
yeah, sorry, the story's a little bit long. So I had anyway this one duplication surgery. So they tightened the bottom where the esophagus goes into the stomach, and they were like, if this goes wrong, we'll reverse it really quickly. We'll know straight away. So I got out of theatre and they gave me, pain meds to have. And as soon as I tried to take them, I could not get them down, like at all. And so as the days went on, I realized I could not get water or food into my stomach because it was too tight. And like the combination of not being able to swallow, nothing pushing it down, like just nothing would go into my stomach. So
But you
I
also get
lost,
so tired from trying to swallow so much that
yeah,
like you might like swallow for like a minute and then your body just gets harder and harder and you just like it's exhausting to do. Like no one can understand it unless you're going through the motions.
absolutely. And like so much was stuck in my esophagus that it was going into my lungs. Like it was full of saliva constantly that just wouldn't be able to get down because usually,
Oh my
it will
god.
eventually flow down with like gravity or with me washing it down. But because it couldn't get into my stomach, it was like drowning me. So I constantly had vomit
Yeah.
bags. Like I needed to sit right up. And then they went in to try and do a dilatation, and that was unsuccessful. And then about 11 days or 10 days later, they undid the surgery, but they only half undid it, apparently. So I then was able to leave because I could start to drink and sort of start to eat. And I was like, screw it, I'll just force myself somehow. After that, I'd gone basically from 60 kilos down to 54 kilos while in hospital. And
Hold
like,
on 1 second. I did wanna convert it for the American audience here. So
yeah. And so
uh
I'm like 5'11". So I'm
okay.
quite tall. And yeah, I have no idea.
Alright, so we got
Yeah.
We got 60 kilograms is 132 pounds. Man, you're heavier than me than I am. I weigh 108 pounds somehow.
That's wild. Yeah. So like I'd gone down to 54 kilos, which like BMI, it was like far too low BMI because 60 kilos for my height was already on like just a bit low. So
Mm-hmm.
like all of my vitamins were down. Like my heart was struggling, like everything was really struggling.
Yeah.
So I went through, a million consultations with dietitians, like force feeding myself everything. I was still throwing up because my stomach now was partially paralyzed with, gastroparesis and all of this. And then eventually it just got to the point where they're like, we need to just put an NG in and just try and help you gain some weight. And so I was eating orally at the same time. And I started with 5-time daily feeds. And
You
that
must have
wasn't
felt so
good.
much better when they started giving you food again. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the thing was for me, like I had been eating like this whole time, like, and it was going down. Like, yes, it was coming back up again sometimes, but a lot of it was staying down. So I didn't understand why I was still losing more weight. And then I went to like having 1,500 calories while I slept, like overnight feeds. And
Mm-hmm.
that started to make me feel a bit better. And like I went from basically being like a shell of a human being to suddenly like having just like it was puffed out more, if that makes sense. Like I
It's
actually had
so
some
good.
substance.
You feel warmer too.
Yeah. And yeah, because I was freezing all the time. And like I genuinely thought I
It's
was
the
going to
worst.
die. Like I was so sick and just wasting away. Like I wasn't myself anymore. So like that tube really helped me a lot.
Yeah, food is
Mm,
good, especially when
it
you're
is.
a struggle. Yeah, especially when you're struggling for so long and stuff. It's just nice to have like food without struggling and anything. You kind of have like the PTSD in a way of like you don't really want to eat anymore because like you don't want to like almost die every time. So like
Every
this,
time.
it's a very comforting feeling. It takes a little while for you like have to feel full but not be exhausted at the same time. And it's like, wow, did this ever feel like to be full again and not and like relax and
Yeah.
enjoy myself? It's crazy.
Yeah, I just didn't realize like how much weight like food has, especially I guess in my life and maybe my culture that you go out to have meals with friends. Like it's you socialize over food so often and how I was at that time,
Stay away
especially
from
with
the wines.
yeah, especially with like my gastroparesis and like with the feeding tube, like if someone wanted to have dinner with me, like I couldn't really eat the dinner because my stomach was already so paralyzed by like later in the day. And yeah, like I just felt even more, I guess, isolated because I couldn't do the things that
But
everyone considers to be so normal.
but it's clear that you don't have a tube anymore. So like, what happened where you don't need it anymore?
So I had the tube this whole time, and like I said, I felt like I was getting puffed out and like I was like stronger, but it was like it really restored a lot of the nutrients that I needed, but not a lot of weight. So I didn't really put on weight with it. So they basically said, "Oh, you can take it out for Christmas last year, and then we'll reassess in January." So I took it out myself for Christmas. And then I went back in January and they were like, oh, you might need it again, you might not. And they were basically just tossing up whether or not I'd have it again. And then I ended up not getting it put in again because, like, the calories that I was consuming orally were so much higher. I wasn't throwing up anymore because they did another surgery in November that helped with everything. So yeah, like it couldn't really benefit me that much anymore. Like at least for now, I don't have a tube, but who knows in the future, really.
I mean, I've been on a formula, but they could give you higher formulas that have they could give you formulas that have higher calories per ounce. That would help you out. 'Cause
Mm,
I'm sure like if I gave you what I have, I could get you like 30 pounds in like 2 weeks. Like just is it? I
amazing.
mean, at the same time, it's also kind of I know they suck. Well, for me, it sucked because I can't eat anymore and I don't taste food. So you kind of have the
Mm,
best of both worlds. But it's
yeah,
also good to like now we're like entering our 30s now, and it's like like we kind of can gain weight now. I guess we have genetics on our side, so like we can't gain weight that fast, but like we can kind of monitor our weight in a way. So
yeah,
like I can like oh, it's like one can is it's 800 calories. So you can like space it out during the day, but like when you're eating food, you're not looking at the food. You're just eating everything on your plate. Like you
Yeah,
control yourself and stuff. But it, I mean, I do miss the convenience of eating food, like just going to a fridge and just eating whatever I want. Like, so do you have any like foods that you can't have at all, or just kind of a regular diet?
I really just eat everything. And just hope that it goes down, wash it down with a lot of liquid, and sometimes just choke and cough and splutter and have crackly breathing for a little while afterwards, and then eventually can clear it and go on with my day. But yeah,
I mean, you must feel always you must feel like almost privileged to eat food because for a while you almost couldn't eat food, so it must feel really good when you eat something.
yeah, it really does. And I think I've had so many moments in my life where I've lost certain like ability to do things, or I've had, like the words like you won't be able to do X anymore. And when I had that surgery in 2020, they said to me, like, I don't know if you'll be able to eat or drink orally anymore. And so I then had to go and process, like, okay, this might be my life now. And I didn't think I'd have an NG tube at that stage. I thought maybe I'd get, like a Mickey and that was it. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I'm very grateful that I can eat and drink. And I think that it keeps you humble when you have when you were grateful for simple things like that.
Well, let's talk about this. Like maybe not eating is a possibility for you. So, what would be your last meal?
That's so hard. I love a good bowl of hot chips, like with some nice sauce. Probably that. And at the moment, I've just been addicted to chocolate eclairs. So like a
Okay.
chocolate eclair and a bowl of chips, I think. Nothing, nothing too exciting. What would your last meal?
No,
Did you know
uh,
that you wouldn't be able to eat orally anymore?
my real. So the meal that I would have if I had a choice would be nachos and pizza.
Yeah.
Cause like who but like my last meal that I actually tried was actually pancakes because one of the things is when your throat is closing up, like you're supposed to have bolus food is called, and so like
Mm,
pancakes is good to eat food and stuff. So like,
yeah.
like at the last like the way it happened for me is that my throat was closing up like within months, and so
Wow.
like I would just, it would take me like an hour to eat a full meal, and I was just like not eating enough, and I was just losing weight and everything. So I remember this like pancake to help, and then I just remember I just couldn't swallow it anymore, like nothing was going down, and then I was just like, I have to go to the hospital and I have to get it too because I can't eat, I can't even drink
Yeah.
anything, nothing. And the thing that sucks about it, that I went on a Friday, so I had to wait till Monday.
Oh no. It's the worst about
Yeah,
hospitals.
so
Hey, nothing happens on the weekend.
nope. So I
Yeah.
had to wait. I was on the saline IV, whatever, and I had to wait till Monday for everything to open up again and eat again. So, yeah, I was 108 pounds. I lost 20 pounds. And it's like, I'm skinny now. Like, I didn't even know I could lose 15 pounds. Like, holy shit. But somehow I did. Yeah, I had the same thing. I was really cold all the time and like frail. I looked like horrible, like a zombie. And then feels really good to eat and that you're going to feel full again and warm again. But now I'm
Yeah.
trying. Like I would like I always been cold, but like I wouldn't think I have like I don't have a weight problem. I don't have like an image problem either. But I was trying to like I don't move that much in my personal life, so I'm afraid to eat more because people say it's very hard to lose weight. So I don't want to gain weight, but I also want to gain weight because I don't want to feel cold all the time. You
Yeah.
know, I'm in that weird, but when you're skinny though, you look better skinny. So like I'm not anorexic skinny or either, but I think people generally look better skinnier, and I want to keep that thing because once you get fat, like it's hard to go back to the way things were. So I kind of like limit my diet a little bit. I gained a little weight. I remember I was trying pants on and I couldn't fit into them anymore, and I'm like, shit, no, this is not working. So like I'm cutting back a little bit again, but like I don't know if it's old age. I'm only 30, but I'm acting like I'm 6 years old. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, but yeah, I do miss food. I do miss the convenience of it, like just too. go out for dinner and just eat whatever. Like look at a menu and like browse. Like I almost like forgot what like I'll look at a menu. I forget food exists anymore. 'Cause I've been eating in like 8 years, so like I forget like I'll go like I'll walk down the aisle like a grocery store and there's all these new foods I have never knew about that existed like that like they invented in the last 5 years. Like I have no idea about anything. But on the plus side, I have saved so much money on food, like my insurance pays for my formulas. So
Yeah,
I've been buying nice things for myself. Like I bought like Gucci shoes. That's really nice. Like
that's so nice.
yeah, like
Yeah,
just like nice shit.
it must be a surreal feeling to see like new food and new flavors come out and not experience it. But like you're 100% right on saving money on food.
I mean, if you think about it, you're spending a lot of money. You spend like what
Yeah.
$20,000 per year on food,
Mm,
and
yeah.
it adds up. So like like, and then like people like look at me with like Gucci shoes and be like jealous about it. So it's like, would you rather eat food or would you rather have Gucci shoes? Like. So I'm just gonna, it's kind of like it's balanced. You gotta get one or the other. So it's balanced. I mean, the other cool thing about it is kind of the convenience of it. Get like
Mm,
you know, it kind of like think about it like you have to make a meal at three, two times a day at least. And right, so like you have to know what you want to eat every single time. I don't have to make that decision. I have what I want and I'm done. I don't have
yeah.
to do dishes. I don't have to cook for an hour and a half, burn it, and then order pizza. I don't have that problem. I could eat a full meal in like 10 minutes and I'm done. Everyone else is like an hour, like what if you don't like the food and what? Like, so it's really, but yeah, so it's either food or Gucci shoes. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go with the Gucci shoes. I almost wouldn't, while I do miss food, I would do the surgery to swallow again, but like, I wouldn't get rid of the tube. I find it too convenient for myself now. I almost wouldn't,
Mm,
I would just keep it. Get like I would love to go on a road trip and just have all my food with me and not spend money on food. Food is so expensive,
yeah. It is expensive.
especially in this economy.
Yeah. And like you've said, it consumes so much time and so like much thought, like and like like energy power just to plan meals and things. Like my whole world was consumed by food last year because I was so focused on gaining weight that if I hadn't eaten within, a few hours, I'd be like, I need food, I need food, I need food. And it would
Yeah,
stress me out so much because I'd be like, I'm going to lose weight. Like, this is so bad. And I was just stuffing my face with so much food. And it was really difficult for me because no one would believe that I ate as much as I did, apart from people that were watching me eat it. And they couldn't believe that I could eat so much and like nothing would happen. I have no idea where all that
well,
food went.
let's talk about weight and modeling because you're a model and I have here that so you placed first runner-up at Miss Grand Australia in 2019, which is the third largest beauty pageant internationally. The first time a person with a disability had placed in Grand Slam Pageantry in Australia, and you also walked at the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week in Europe within a year of being represented by a modeling agency in Australia. So like is weight like you have like the true models, like the skinnier models, which you seem to be one of those skinnier models. So like what did you want to gain weight for yourself, or was there like a modeling image that you were going for, or are you like where was your head at with your weight?
So with this weight gain, it was really for my health. Like I needed to put on weight. And when I was modeling both in Miss Grand in 2019 and Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week was back in 2016. And at that time, like I was, back 60 kilos or whatever in pounds you said that was. And I was just muscly, like lean and like still like relatively thin because I was, like under a healthy BMI, really. And I wasn't eating much, to be honest with you. I was exercising probably too much and I was putting my body on the line. And when I was over in Europe, especially, they want people to be thinner. and I'd have my measurements taken and then written down, and I'd have arrows drawn and what they want my new measurements to be. And then I'd ask them, like, how can I even do this? And they'd say, well, you can't run because then you'll get too many muscles on your legs. You can't squat because then you'll get muscles in your ass. If you actually do sit-ups and things like that to tone your abs, you're going to gain muscle there, so you can't do that. So I had to buy this like professional hula hoop that was weighted because that apparently reduces your waist and hip size. So I was having to do that, and then hot yoga, and then I did all this hot yoga, but then I gained muscle and gained centimeters on my waist and hips. So it was like a nightmare. But what I realized throughout all of that was that, like, I was fainting at shoots, like, I was in and out of hospital. And this industry was not worth me putting my body on the line for.
Yeah,
And I
you
was,
chose like the worst career to have with your condition. You're
yeah.
literally the worst.
And I was 10 kilos heavier than I am now. And I think the reality is, like, now my body just hadn't like naturally dropped the weight because I got sick. So now probably I'd be the perfect size to be a model on the catwalk in Europe, but I just don't have the same, I guess, tolerance for sacrificing my body for things that aren't necessarily morally right.
I know you say that it's really what dangerous and stuff, but I feel like in the back of your mind you're like happy you did it too, and
I'm ha-
you would do it again if you could.
I think so. I think like all of it is character building. Like, well, it is. You have to have these
we're
experiences. Like, I
we're
learned
so
something
toxic.
for it.
We're so toxic with this.
Maybe you learned something.
No, I get it. I mean, the
Yeah.
big thing that I want to push in the future with my videos, I'm gonna do merchandise on, and one of the
Mm,
words would be character development because I feel like, like no one, like I'm not a religious person, I know, and it's like, like a lot of the condition suffer loss that like we have to like justify it, kind of like why are we suffering so much? So like a lot of people will be like, oh, God is giving me this because I can like handle this, and like he only gives it to the strong people, but I don't believe that. I think it's bullshit. I think we're just bad luck and all. But like, I feel like if you give yourself saying character development, say like you go through shit and say character development, it gives you kind of like a reason for you suffering. Like you don't want to. No one wants to suffer because like you want to have you want to gain something out of it. Like, for example, with you, like you're modeling, like yes, you were suffering, but you were also walking a show that very little people could do.
mm.
So like that's a huge deal. Like you don't want to be in bed and not have anything. So like I think character development is a good phrase to say. To say, hey, like
Yeah,
character development, like you shoot yourself, you'll go character development. You know,
absolutely.
we both show lots of skin on Instagram. You do it for modeling reason. I do it for likes, and I'm an attention-seeking whore. Do you really care about your scars and would have modeled in whatever condition you were in?
I have no problem with my scars. I've realized that the modeling industry may at times because, yeah, when I first went to enter the modeling industry, they told me that I would not be able to model ever because of the scars on my stomach. So that kind of framed how I saw the industry, I guess, and also reframed how I looked at myself a bit more because I'd always grown up, loving and accepting my scars because I'd never seen my body without them. Like, I have no idea what I'd look like without my scars. They're not things that, I've gotten later in life. Like, most of the larger ones have come from when I was like a baby. So I do love them. I appreciate them. Like, I think that they're important and cool. But beyond that, like, I don't really notice them. Like, they're just there. They're me. And yeah, I feel like they matter in showing representation. They matter in showing that, like, other people, that scars are good and okay. But beyond that, they don't really matter. They're just a part of my body. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we're similar. I think we're similar people in that we do. I mean, I think it's fair to say my body's a lot more extreme than yours in a way that you can hide yours for the most part if you wanted to, but you don't want to. But with that being said, we're both similar that we kind of don't care how we looked. We would have done the same thing whether we have beautiful bodies or very ugly bodies.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And like, honestly, most of the time I look like absolute crap. So I think that it's just important to be real and to show people that, but to also show the good things too. Balance.
But aren't you kind of glad you have this card because you kind of like stand out from like every other model that's kind of like the same, like we were talking about measurements before and such, like everyone fits a mold, but like you're different because you have this card. So like are you kind of like happy you have them just because you stand out more?
Sort of, but I think that like I'm in a very challenging position, I guess, within the modeling industry because like I started in the modeling industry really in mainstream modeling. Like no one knew really that I had a disability when I started out in the industry and when I walked Fashion Week. Like they only started to know when I was doing, the pageant. And so because I really entered in that way, no one ever hired me because they wanted to represent, the disability community or,
Mm-hmm.
include diversity. So that's really how I entered the industry. Now, like I'm signed with a modeling agency that, represents inclusive talent and people with disabilities. And that's wonderful. But when most people look at me, they don't see someone that has a disability. And that can be incredibly frustrating because that is my reality. And I often feel like I don't fit in with mainstream society and I don't fit in with the disability community sometimes. And so, even though I have these scars that make it visible and make me unique, often if they're looking at casting talent with a disability, they won't cast me because they don't think that my disability is visible enough. If
You
that
gotta
makes
like
sense.
start limping or something. You gotta like do something.
Yeah. And then like when I had my feeding tube, I noticed that like there were no feeding tube things out there, but then I think they're still too scared to cast people with feeding tubes, you know?
So let's jump into. So I have here you are an author and you have a book called Behind the Smile: An Inspirational Journey from Disability to Ability. Let's do a quote from chapter 19 called Tenacity. And you have a quote that you wrote for each chapter, and on that chapter you have, do not wait for opportunities to present themselves, create some. So that would be a great segue to our next section where you have multi careers, you have the modeling that we were talking about, but then you also co-founded the Champion Health Agency. Is the world's first talent agency for disability people lived. Which field do you like more?
Out of all the things that I do, I think it's real.
Sure, let's do it.
I think it's really tricky because all of the things that I do are so interwoven, and it's like the disability advocacy is what everything really hinges on, and so my entrepreneurship is really in assisting other people pursue their advocacy careers and pathways. And then my advocacy career is a lot in consultancy, and then speaking, and then authoring and writing and research and everything else that comes up. And so I love it all. I don't think I'd be able to just choose one thing, but I think the thing that's brought me so much joy over the past year and a half, especially, is really just running, my business Champion Health Agency and being able to meet so many other people with disabilities and hear their stories and be able to amplify them and like see them, reach their potential through being able to, share their stories so broadly. So yeah, it's what excites me.
I feel like you have a theme of like you like to be, I wouldn't say the center of attention, but you like attention and you like to feel important, which is good. Like you're not like a bitchy important. Like you wanna be like respected and admired, and I get that. I'm kind of in the same boat in a like a subtle way, you know. Yeah, but like you're doing great work with it.
I think that
Is
like
it?
I do
Yeah.
want to be respected and I do want to have like a good platform that's able to help other people. But in so many ways, I've put my own career on hold to be able to actually amplify the careers of so many other people. Like through running my business, I represent almost 50 people now. And while that might seem like oh, cool, like I'm an entrepreneur and doing this awesome thing, it's really more about me saying, actually, I'm not going to take these speaking opportunities or these consultancy opportunities or these opportunities to grow my own personal career, but I'm going to put that on hold to grow other people's careers. So I think that's like a transition that I've made, especially over the past 18 months, which has been
It kind of like you're the mom and you want to watch
yeah,
everyone grow and
yeah,
be great.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in advocacy world for like around 2 years-ish or so. And I think I don't know, like two things like fine. I think like advocacy is almost, I feel like there's no money in it at all and anything. You kind of have to do it because you like to do it. I think like the only one that really make money are like business owners and such. Like, likes don't get you money at all or anything. And so it's really difficult to get it to. And then I think the other thing, I don't think that many people care too much either. Because like so like we both have rare diseases and like we can shout it to everyone, but like it doesn't really help anything, Like it's a rare disease. The chances of them coming across another person with that disease is very small. And so I don't know, it's very tricky. I feel privileged that I was able to make a job out of this. I see a lot of people that have tried and failed. And I think the hardest thing is really breaking through and getting those opportunities because, like when someone say, oh, I want a speaker to talk about, I don't know, let's say modeling, the pool is so small that like, I feel like I was to call you because you're the only model that I know that had a disability, so like you'll get snatched up really fast and it's just so small and it's like we're kind of like fighting with each other. So like I can't release this episode so I get more jobs here because you keep taking my jobs.
Yeah, I think it's so tricky, isn't it? Like I through the business that I'm doing, almost all of the opportunities that I get my people are paid opportunities. And I feel like it's a unique agency and position because at the moment, so many advocates that I see that get, the speaking gigs or get whatever are the people that, are like Paralympians and have reached fame in, other ways. Or, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really your regular, person with a disability who just wants to tell their story or wants to make a difference or a change. Like,
I mean,
yeah, I think they're the
yeah,
people that are
the other
missing.
thing is, yeah, the other thing is really just getting noticed. Like,
Mm,
like let's say I didn't know you at all. Like, we didn't follow each other. Well, you actually followed me, and then that's how I knew you existed. Like, I had no idea you existed before then. But anyways, but the thing is, like, if I'm looking for a model that had a disability, I really don't know anyone, and you can't really just like type in disability model, kind of like a
yeah.
word of mouth kind of thing. So like now, then someone asks me like, "Hey, do you know any disability models?" I could be like, "Oh, I know Anja, for example."
Mm,
Like I don't, and I mean, I guess anyone could be a model, but like I feel like you're actually a model, like a real model that like got paid to do it, like like a legit
thank you.
you know, most models are like not. They need to walk down the catwalk, but that's not really modeling. Like the true modeling job is actually really hard, and I do give respect to actual model. I give you a lot of respect for model because it's much more concise, I guess. Like there's a way to walk and present yourself. For others, there's just like walking, like they're walking down the street at Starbucks. Like there's like the art. There's like an art to modeling, and I feel like that's getting
Absolutely.
lost. And so it's like kind of cool to see like actual model like keeping the art alive. I feel like we're getting too lost in this. Everyone's a model now, and we have all the Instagrammers now, and they're kind of ruining the allure of it. But like real models are like it's a really hard job, and most people couldn't be models if they really wanted to.
Yeah, like I find that as well, and it's so hard because you want to be supportive of everyone that says that they're a model, like genuinely, like with all the love in my heart, I do. But when I started modeling, like I went through the hard yards. Like I got every little bit of me picked apart. Like I know every single flaw that I have in my face and my body and everything. Like I worked so hard. Like I trained in runway, I trained in photography, trained in
Yeah.
makeup, trained in hair, trained in everything. Like you know exactly like what a model bag is, what to pack in that, how to act at shoots, like what you need to have, what you need to know. Like it is an art to
Mhm.
modeling. It's a professional business. You need a professional skill set. And I think with the rise of these, Instagram influencers, so many companies are like, huh, well, actually, rather than hiring, this real professional model, I'm going to hire someone with followers because they can like market
Mhm.
it. And then all of a sudden you have influencers coming in on set and they don't have, your new bra and new G string and they suddenly rock up in a purple bra that shines through the white clothes, or they know how to do your like this many poses that they do on Instagram, but they don't know how to do XYZ, or it sounds so ridiculous, but like it's absolutely changed how the modeling industry is. And I feel like it's also changing how the advocacy industry is when people are chosen because of their following rather than chosen because of their story or what they have to offer.
I know, like, I guess it's embarrassing to say. I don't even know if you even know in your country, but like, you know, I'm sure you know Tyra Banks, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then there's, I don't know, do they have American Next Top Model in your country? Like, do you know about
They
it?
had, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like that. I feel like it died when that show died, because
Mm.
you know, like that was real model, like actually doing like the complicated hard and like the poses. Like I like I want to have like a more and I want to have a more model-ish Instagram, and but like I don't have like the face to do it. Like I don't have like the sexy poses or like you know like when you're like not angry but like you have like the serious face. I can't do it. I look like a dick, you know.
Surely you
Like you do it
can.
with such no, like you do it with like class and like you have like even when you're like on the hospital bed dying, you have like a model pose going on. And I'm like, can't even do that. Like, I did come off like goofy, and it's like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. Like, I want to have those like cool, sexy photos, but like, no, I can't do it. It's, I think this is something I have to live with. That I'm just not a model kind of person, so I'll just have to like, I have to like supplement it with humor, and hopefully that'll carry me.
I think do it. Do both.
I'm trying, but I don't know. I also need like more photographer friends too. Like,
Mm.
I'm like most people are just like, oh, they have a camera and such, and like just look in one direction and take photos. Like, you know, like I went on a photo set and like she was really good, so that was really great. I just wish I had more friends like that, but I
Mm.
gotta live what I gotta live, and I don't know. I'll give you credit for modeling and keeping it. Like you are like I'll look at you and like I see a true model. Like no
Thank
one can look
you.
at me and be like, I'm a true model. So I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Before I take the mic away from you, is there anything you want to say, promote, any words of wisdom? The mic is all yours.
No huge words of wisdom that I think we haven't already covered, apart from just don't let your circumstances define you. And yeah, just if you're interested in following along my journey, find me on Instagram or follow Champion Health Agency to keep up with other advocates as well.
Or if you want to see all her modeling pics, they're up there too. So
Yeah,
thank you, Anja, for so much for giving me your time and expertise. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. You can follow Anja in the description below. Thank you, Anja, and I'll see everyone next time. Bye.
bye.